I do not think it is accurate to consider religion and science as a duality, so that one must adhere to one or the other. The notion that either science is right or religion is right. I consider this to be a false equivalence, similar to the idea that one must either eat vegetables or eat fruit. An excellent description of the difference between science and religion goes like this. It's from a book by Carlo Rovelli called 7 Brief Lessons on Physics. Scientific inquiry is a continuation of the gaze of hunters in the first light of day. And I quote, looking at tracks left by antelope in the dust of the savannah, scrutinizing and deducting from the details of reality in order to pursue something that we can't see directly, but can follow traces of. In the awareness that we can always be wrong, and therefore ready at any moment to change direction if a new track appears, unquote. Religion, on the other hand, is gathering around the campfire, telling stories about the great antelope deity in the sky. Both are useful. Ideally, the myth nourishes the science, and the science nourishes the myth. However, science advances knowledge about the world. If we can find the antelope, we can eat. Another quote. The confusion between these two diverse human activities, inventing stories and following traces in order to find something, is the origin of the incomprehension and distrust of science shown by a significant part of our contemporary culture. The separation is a subtle one. The antelope hunted at dawn is not far removed from the antelope deity in that night's storytelling, unquote. This sermon is about utilizing the rigor of science to explore the positive effects of religious rituals. Much of this sermon is influenced by the book that I read from before. One task of almost all religions is to encourage or cajole participants to live a moral life. Abrahamic religions emphasize a central omniscient God who needs to be worshipped and who will judge whether we follow his rules. Buddhism has no such judging God, but has an all-encompassing understanding that karma is ruthless and follows the law of cause and effect. Moral actions produce good karma, and immoral ones produce bad karma. Religions have also offered refuge to subjugated peoples, a place to congregate, to build community in the face of seemingly insurmountable oppression. For example, the First Baptist Church was formed in 1776 in Williamsburg, Virginia, for both free and enslaved Black people. Initially, they met secretly in fields and under trees in defiance of laws preventing African Americans from congregating. They then had their first building in 1818, a 16 by 20 foot structure that was destroyed by a tornado in 1834. The remnants of this church and its accompanied cemetery were recently discovered under a parking lot. So far, 25 graves have been excavated. The current pastor of First Baptist, still in Williamsburg, called it, quote, a rediscovery of the humanity of a people, unquote. Research today has shown that there is no difference in moral actions from those who claim to be religious compared to those who are not religious. However, those who are regular practitioners in their religion act in moral ways more often than those who do not, and are happier and more content in their lives. Another thing that religions do well, and I definitely include Unitarian Universalism in this, is create and practice rituals designed to help us humans along on our journey through life, in hopes of finding community, meaning, and perhaps some measure of achievement, some sense of having contributed, and hopefully some degree of happiness or contentment along the way. From birth and infancy, the formative early years, through puberty, coming of age to adulthood, transcending the 20s and 30s, the business of midlife, discovering and appreciating the aging process and the preparation for death. At each stage, new challenges await us. And as social creatures, we require support and connection from others in order to find our way. Religions are not the only institutions that provide such support and connection. DeSteno, the author of the book, points out, however, that institutional religions have been conducting an organic set of experiments over thousands of years to determine the best conditions for these positive benefits to be accomplished. He argues, and I agree with him, that it would be foolish to ignore those centuries of experimentation in creating what he calls religious technologies. There are numerous examples, and I will share only a few. In the national Shinto religion in Japan, there are numerous rituals involving new births, starting during pregnancy, the naming ceremony at the 7th day after birth, the visit to the Shinto shrine at 1 month, the first bite of food at 4 months, another celebration in March for girls and May for boys, the first birthday, and at age 3, 5, and 7. In each ritual, special clothing is worn, special prayers are said, and meals and sometimes gifts are given to family and friends. Such rituals are expensive in time and money for the parents. We know from psychology that when we spend resources on a project, we are more likely to continue that project. Rearing a child is a big project. For those parents who participate in these rituals, they not only feel the support and encouragement of their community, they also feel peer pressure to do as fine a job as they can in that project, and they become more committed to doing so. Most Christians have the ritual of infant baptism. We Unitarians have a child dedication ceremony full of ritual and meaning as the community commits to supporting the new family. Unlike many other Christian denominations, however, we do not have First Communion or confirmation, although we do have a welcoming ritual for new members. I think it would be helpful for us to consider additional rituals for the children in our congregation as they move from infancy to adolescence and eventually move into adulthood. Traditional indigenous cultures often have elaborate rituals to assist children in their transition to adulthood, often requiring powerful tests of strength, endurance, and physical pain. Physical pain, although a powerful mechanism, for focusing one's attention in these rituals may not be the most important component. Rather, the sense of challenge and the endurance necessary to achieve a particular result can also be maximized and serve a similar function. For example, the Boy Scouts' major achievement of Eagle Scout requires multiple projects over a period of time, including 21 merit badges. In order to be successful, the Scout must utilize time, energy, the learning of important skills, the development of qualities of planning, focus, leadership, and virtuous actions and deeds. The Scout must also be recognized by adults in the community as being a person of high character and integrity. I'm not saying that all of our youth need to become Eagle Scouts, although now girls can also participate in those rituals. But we could possibly use that program as a template for the development of certain rituals and expectations for the youth in our congregation as we step up and offer guidance, support, and expectations for them as they move from adolescence into adulthood. Hindus and Buddhists have discovered that certain meditation practices create a sense of calm and increased compassion and empathy for those who participate. Scientists now know that these practices improve something called vagal tone, which supports stronger and more empathic bonds between people. There is strong scientific evidence that the practice of community rituals aids substantially to that effort. Interestingly, however, the benefit is not tied to the specific belief systems that participants happen to embrace. Rather, the benefit is tied to other aspects, such as, number one, the calmness and the sense of awe inspired by the physical location where the ritual is performed. This is why great cathedrals are expansive with high ceilings, imaginative artwork, and stained glass windows. Second, synchronistic movements of the participants, such as singing, dancing, swaying. Number three, spontaneous physical responses that mirror the person involved in the ritual, including breathing and heartbeat. Number four, common beliefs of those participating. As mentioned previously, the particular belief isn't important, but a group holding the same beliefs together in a group has the positive effect. Unfortunately, the pandemic has served to separate us in this congregation from each other. Zoom has been helpful, but what has been missing is the physicality, the awareness, and appreciation of other humans being in the same space, singing together, feeling each other's energies, moving in sync with each other. As I look around, I see that our numbers have dwindled some. Many of us remain anxious and afraid. I admit to intense feelings of anger and judgmentalism from time to time as I see so many ignore what science has been teaching us throughout this pandemic. I cringe at what I see as some people appearing to have so-called drunk the Kool-Aid, and in the process putting themselves and others at grave risk. The cost of separation is also real. We are mammals. We are social creatures. I have been fortunate and privileged, and have in many ways enjoyed my solitude. But now I am eager to reconnect. One way to do so is to develop and embrace more rituals in our church community. And I invite others to join me in creative planning. The UUA has been explicit in saying that for now, singing indoors is too dangerous. Those who know me know that I have been extremely cautious regarding risk of infection for the past year and a half. However, I am getting to the point where I'm ready to reevaluate the issue of singing. As I look out, I'm guessing that 95 to 100% of you have been fully vaccinated. Later, when we go downstairs for coffee and treats, we end up sitting rather close together, unmasked. It is difficult for me to believe that singing together masked is more dangerous than what we will be doing downstairs in a few minutes. And if I am right, and if almost everyone is vaccinated, then that in turn lessens the risk. And if we add the reality that singing together provides the scientifically proven benefits of bodily synchronization and increased vagal tone, then I suggest it may be time to have a discussion about it. So we have a little time.